school records. Please welcome Sarah Pep.
If I had some time, just open up if you had. Our next inductee was the captain of the 1969 team that was ranked number 10 nationally. An outstanding defensive back who recorded a school record 13 career interceptions. A member of 4 other Hall of Fames. Tonight, he makes it 5. Please welcome Joe Purzycki.
Thank you all. Eric, fellow inductees, ladies and gentlemen. A couple of people I want to thank before I get started. I want to thank my brother Mike. Mike and I grew up in Newark, New Jersey together. I always tell people it's like surviving the first 5 minutes of Saving Private Ryan. You need a big brother in Newark, New Jersey. Mike always took care of me when I was young, but throughout my career, when not everybody believed in me, Mike always did. And he was a heck of a football player while he was here at the University of Delaware. I want to thank my wife as well. We met here. We're going to be married 43 years next Thursday. Thank you. We met right here on this campus, and after asking her for a date, 5 or 6 times, and finally got one. She's been the silver lining in my life. And no matter what I went through, as long as she was around, life was good. And she gave me some wonderful kids. 2 up here tonight, I'm sorry. My daughter Laura and her husband Bo, and my son Joey and his beautiful wife Jenny. Thank you for being here. I love you. And I have a daughter, Lisa, who's a Delaware grad, very special young girl who had a great career at Goldman Sachs. Delaware should be proud of her with what she did with that Delaware degree. She is expecting a child. It's going to be Sharon and I's 6th grandchild. And so she couldn't be here. But 2 of the representatives of the Purzycki tribe are here. I want you to meet them. Asher and Gio. Will you stand up so these people can see you? Stand out in the aisle. Now, these 2 are going to come to the University of Delaware. Asher is a soccer star at Medford, New Jersey. And Gia is on the all-star cheerleading team in Medford, New Jersey. Eric, if you can arrange early admission, we'll give you tuition tonight. From 1964 to 1969, Purzycki wore number 89 and started for the University of Delaware. And during that time, Marie Purzycki, my mother, and Iron Mike Purzycki, my dad, traveled from Boston to Bucknell to Delaware and all places in between to see us play. They traveled with the Masons and the Fads and the Faveros and the DiMuzios. They loved this institution and what it did for their 2 boys. I remember 1968 like it were yesterday. We were playing in the Boardwalk Bowl. They called it the Cakewalk Bowl, which we beat Indiana, Pennsylvania. And after the game, they had a tape delay on the bar in the lobby of this grand hotel we were staying in. And all the Delaware faithful went there. All of our parents were there, all of the players, our coaches, old Scotty Duncan holding court in the middle of the bar. It reminded me of that last scene in the movie, It's a Wonderful Life. And it was a metaphor then, and it is a metaphor today for what Delaware football meant to me. It has always been family for me. For 50 years, I knew the men who played before me. I knew Buck Thompson. I knew Winnie Mayer. I knew Bill Murray. And I knew the teams that came after me because I followed them. We, when we played here, had an obligation to burn the torch, which was Delaware football, as brightly as we could, and then to hand it to those that came after us and let them know what that torch stood for, what the tradition meant. I was awfully proud to have played in a great era of Delaware football, the 60s and the 70s. A lot of people say, oh, you guys in that era, you're always talking back to the good old days when you played Temple. What people don't understand is regardless of Division 1, 2, or 3, Delaware was imitated, emulated, admired throughout the entire nation for its football program. Not just for the wins and losses, but for the ideals that the program stood for, and for the men who championed the program. That's what I was most proud of. That was the family that I belonged to. And I say to people sometimes when I come into skeptics who talk about the past and the tradition that may not be here anymore, and I say to them, the past is not past. The past is present. That tradition still lives. And there's no reason it won't live again. There's no reason that Delaware football won't ascend to the very levels it did in those days when we were most proud of it. Back in that era, under Tubby, Delaware was the Camelot college football, all levels. There's no reason it can't be Camelot again. I want to thank Tubby Raymond and the coaches who coached us in those years. I spoke when Tubby was honored by the Delaware Historical Society as a history maker, the likes of Vice President Biden, Ken Burns, the historian. And I said that the derivation of the term coach comes from the old stagecoach, because a coach, you needed a coach to take you from one place to another. You couldn't get there on your own. And that's what a great coach does. A great coach takes us on a journey that we can't go on our own. But some coaches, unusual coaches, take us to destinations we never dreamed of. And that is what Tub did for us. And I also thank Coach for the other men that he surrounded us with. You know, today your sons and daughters may have people who coach them as assistants for a year or two. We had Coach Wiz for 50 years. We had Coach Flynn, Jimmy, who's here tonight, for 50 years. Mal and Bear Billy and Doc and Keith, all part of that family I spoke about. I could come back here in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and 90s, and there was continuity to that tradition. And Coach, I can't thank you enough for the experience that you gave us and what it meant to each and every one of us. And finally, I want to thank the men I played with. And if you could, I'd like to recognize a few who are with us tonight. If they would just stand. Bruce Fadd, one of the great athletes to play in Delaware in the 60s and 70s. Bobby Mason is the quarterback of our defense. Richard Keller and Pete Sunheim. I'm sorry, Herb, but they're the two hardest hitting defensive backs that I've ever seen at Delaware. Ray Holcomb, my brother from North Jersey, who I passed the torch of leadership he's so able to carry. Ron Withelder, one of the most prolific wide receivers in the history of the University of Delaware. And Tommy DiMuzio, the finest wing T quarterback of all time. Period. There are many others. Nicky Kwiatkowski and Conway Heyman. We just lost a dear friend in Chip Vaccarino. Pat Walker from right here in Newark. And while Billy played in the backfield with all Hall of Famers, Sammy Brickley and Dickie Kelly were there as well. And two of my dearest friends, John Favero and Ronnie Klein. 50 years ago, I came here and they were my best friends, and that hasn't changed today. I've never had better friends. I've never known better men. Thank you, guys. Like these ladies and gentlemen up here tonight, I proudly walk into this Hall of Fame, but I cannot walk in alone. I walk in arm in arm with the people in this room that made it possible and the people who are with me in spirit tonight. Thank you, Delaware.